Well, there's been a lot going on around here, so I figure I better give you a little bit of an update. Obviously, we talked about Sean's death, and we had an unbelievable memorial service last Monday. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that. It was a great testimony to a young guy's life. There were a lot of people that had a chance to witness. There was a huge crowd there. And amazingly enough, what's happened around the Redskins, around this complex, and everybody associated with the Redskins has really been a time of, I think, soul searching for a lot of people. I was talking to Pastor Brett on last Friday, and he informed me, he works at our chaplain, of course, here working with our football team, that just with the people here at Redskin Park, he had 13 appointments over the next 2 days of people wanting to talk about their relationship with the Lord. And I think really what jumped out at everybody, when I talk about a game plan for life, and I compare life to football, one of the things is I always say we have a clock ticking on us in the game of football, 60 minutes. We play 60 minutes and that's it. We walk off the field, we've either won or lost. And I think in this case, what it's shown a lot of people, and the thing that jumps out at me is when you realize that Sean was 24 years old. Here's a young guy that was doing what he's supposed to be doing, trying to protect his family, and it was just a break-in, and he winds up losing his life. I think what's jumped out to a lot of people around here is caused them to kind of question and realize, hey, listen, life is fragile. It's not a gift. And so I just hope that all of you out there will be praying for everybody here on the football team, the coaching staff, everybody here in the front office, and really in general, everybody that's been affected by this loss of Sean. I think it's a time where a lot of people can be reached for Christ. A lot of people are going to be searching about their own personal relationship. And so if you would, please say a prayer about that. And I think it's a time that's not going to last long. This will be a matter of weeks. And we just pray, and I pray, that people like Brett and others here will have a chance to witness to others about their personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So if you could keep that on the forefront. Now, having said all that, obviously we've been through some tough adversity here over these last 5 or 6 weeks. We've had 4 real tough losses. That's about as hard as you could get. We've had injuries continue to mount. It's really been a challenge for us, and if you got most of you that follow the football team realize how many of our key players have been hurt. And now we have the loss of Sean, which has been an emotional thing for the whole football team. You know, as I kind of looked at that, I kind of want to make a confession to everybody here and kind of tell you what kind of happened in my own life through that process over these last 5 or 6 days. I started saying to myself, you know, there's a lot happened here, a lot of adversity. And I found myself saying, I want to make sure that for me, I want to be in the right relationship with the Lord. And if there's any sin that I have there in my life, I want to make sure I've got that confessed so that the Lord can bless me. I don't know if any of you feel that way when things seem to stack up against you, but I certainly did. And I got to tell you that something came to light for me. I found myself saying, I always kind of say to myself, I'd like to have a real testimony for the Lord when I'm through. So I want to make sure anything in football doesn't hurt my testimony. But you know, really and truly, am I really saying that because I'm more focused on wins and losses and I'd like to come out of here with my own pride intact? Or am I saying that, you know, truthfully? And so I had to make a confession, I think, between me and the Lord. I don't know if this means a lot to you, but I confessed any sin I have in my life of pride. And for me, during a process like this, when there's tremendous struggles, do I think more about wins and losses and me and my pride and how I'm going to, you know, what this is going to mean to me when the football season is over with? And so I had a confession time between me and the Lord, and really what I said was, Lord, I want to be in right standing with you. I want to be focused on what you want, keeping that first and not what I want. So I kind of want to share that with you. Then, of course, we had the Bears game, and that was Thursday night, and most of you probably saw it. What a breath of fresh air that was. Even in that game, the things that happened, just kind of, I'm standing here on the sideline. We had 6 players that had some kind of either serious sickness or injuries during the game. Fred Smoot was in and out of the game throwing up blood on the sideline, goes to the locker room, sees we're having a struggle, came running back on the field, went back into the game pretty much on his own, and wound up finishing the game and was throwing up afterwards. Clinton Portis, similar type thing, had a viral infection of some kind and was throwing up all during the game. Chris Cooley gets hit, goes to the locker room. I think he may be out for the year. Got an MRI, came back, played, said, hey, I'm going back in the game. Chris Samuels, before the game, had an ankle, so it really hurting him. Wasn't sure he's going to be able to play. Played the entire game. Sean Springs, all the things he's been through, no practice this week. His dad, as sick as he is, wasn't able to practice all last week with the bad back. Plays in the game as one of the stars of the game. And then, of course, the big blow for us was we're looking out on the field. We had a particular pass rush, and Jason Campbell goes down with a knee. I'm standing there on the sideline seeing all this happen. It's going back and forth. And I'm saying to myself, goodness gracious, what else can happen? Well, at the end, and most of you who are following the game know that Jason dislocated his right in front of his kneecap, really, which will mean no surgery, which is great. But he's going to be out for a while. Todd Collins comes in the game. I don't know if I've ever had anybody make have a better game coming off the bench. Todd was unbelievable, led us to a victory, and boy, what a breath of fresh air that was. So all of this is going on in my life. I'm kind of sharing with you. And so now I get focused when that's over with. I get focused on what a challenge we have coming up. Think about this. In order for us to get in the playoffs, in all likelihood, unless there's a miracle involved, we need to beat the Giants in Giants Stadium. We need to beat the Vikings at their place in a dome that's extremely loud. And we need to beat the Cowboys here. Now, if you want a challenge, you know, if something would say to you, hey, what a mountain of adversity. What a tough challenge. And so I find myself saying that, and I want to share a little something with you. In John 11:22, there's a great statement in there, and it's by Martha. And if you remember, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. And Martha is talking to Jesus. And she made a great statement in there, and this little devotional that I used kind of jumped right out at me with this statement. She says to Jesus, but I know, even now, God will give you what you ask. In other words, she's saying that to Jesus. And her statement in there, what jumped out at me was, even now, irregardless of how impossible it looks, okay, irregardless of how big the mountain of adversity is for you and I. For you, it could be a sickness, it could be a financial problem, it could be, in my case, it's football games and what's going to happen here at the end of the year. Do we have a mountain of adversity sometime to claim? Absolutely. But think about this. God is a God of miracles. He can do anything. He's all-powerful. And so I think many times our own mindset does what? It limits what we think God can do. Martha, who would dream? Lazarus has been dead 4 days. She said, Jesus, I know God's going to listen to you. Even now, He can do this. And so I think the challenge for you and I, even now, irregardless of what's facing us, we have a God that's all-powerful. He's all-knowing and all-loving. He can do anything. And so whatever your mountain of adversity is, I tell you what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and say, God, even now. I mentioned digging the ditches in the valley. I'm going to keep digging. I don't see any wind. I don't see any rain coming. I don't see any clouds. I see no signs, but I got to tell you, the sign that I probably got, the best one I got was the Bears game. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep digging, and I'm going to say, as Martha said, even now, God, even now. Love to have a chance to visit with you, send you some material, joegibbsonline.com. We won't put you on any mailing list. Like I said, love to have a chance to just visit with you and send you some material. Thanks for joining me today.